All right, I'm just gonna get started, give you guys a little bit of a run through while we wait for other people to join. So this is our second community call, and we're really, really excited to do this. I think since we did the last one, we got so much feedback on how we could change up these sessions. We also got so much feedback on people wanting to be involved beyond just taking part in community calls or chatting to us on Discord. So these are hopefully going to be happening a lot more regularly. And for those of you that have made it, whether it's 8 a.m. PST and you woke up early for this, or it's the end of your day in London or Moscow, wherever you are, just wanted to say thanks for coming. And we will definitely try and make this as interactive and as engaging as possible. So just to give you guys an idea of what we want to cover in this call, there we go. So we're going to spend the first 10 minutes just giving you a little bit of a glance of what Q2 looked like at Zerion. I know market-wise things were very crazy, and so people are always curious to hear, well, what did it actually look like in terms of product metrics, and what were some of the key features that we rolled out. We'll spend some time also talking about our Q3 roadmap, so that's also a chance for you guys to ask questions, which we'll be regulating in the chat. And then I want to highlight the community grants, which we launched last week. That's been really, really awesome to see people contributing to. And I know that some of you have quite a few questions, so that will also be an opportunity there. And then we will just close off with an open AMA discussion, ask whatever you want, chat to us, and then we'll put a wrap on it. So that's the general run through for today. And in terms of who is actually on this call, I think I deleted that slide because I wasn't sure who would be on here, but I saw that we had a couple of people from the Zerion team, so you can just scroll through the names. I'm here, Abhi's here, Yevgeny's here, Andrei's here. I think I saw Alexei, Nahuel, and yeah, might be a few others here and there, so forgive me if I missed you. But for now, I'm gonna actually just hand it over to Yevgeny to chat about Q2 at a glance.
Thanks, Rebecca. Thanks. So yeah, this has been a pretty wild run for us. Obviously, the markets went up a lot and down a lot. So we're now having roughly about 200K monthly active users, which is really exciting. This is around 5 times more than we had like just in the beginning of this year. So that's a big success already. We obviously have a bunch of people, like a bunch of countries covered. So as like pretty much any crypto project and the DeFi project, we have people from over 150 countries, which I find, great success, given that, crypto is inherently different from any other industry from that regard. In terms of the daily traded volume, we're seeing about 5 million traded every day. And even though the market went down quite a bit and like the volumes overall across different decentralized exchanges went down, that's still, for us, we also saw a dip in this metrics, but we still are holding up pretty well in terms of the overall trading volume. And lastly, like one of the interesting metrics that we track is the number of times people open our apps, mobile apps per day. And last time we were looking at it, it was about 9, and this time it's now gone up to 15 times per day on average, which is this is a bit worrying, to be honest, because like we have it's kind of fine that you look at your portfolio that many times, but maybe that's sometimes not too healthy. So we have some ideas how to improve on that, and it's potentially just like stay tuned for some of the exciting things around that. Yeah, I guess this is it on the metric side. Obviously, we have a lot of new things coming up. Rebecca, do you want to talk about the roadmap for the next quarter, or I can do that as well, or we can like hand it over to Andre too?
No, that's cool. So I think Abhi and I wanted to do just an overview of the highlights that we had over Q2 before we move on to Q3 roadmap. Just to give you guys a reminder, like some of the things that we have covered and some of the milestones that we've reached. So the first is just there has been ongoing trade optimization going on. I don't know if you saw yesterday, we announced that Wintermute is now a liquidity provider on Zerion. We also added Paraswap as well. And then because of our 0x API, when Uniswap v3 launched, although we don't have a full integration for Uni v3, we do allow you to plug into that liquidity when you're trading. And then of course, on top of that, like I'd say at least in the last month, gas has been a little bit easier but we've been doing a lot infrastructure-wise to also make sure that that's something that just continues to improve. So hopefully that's only going to get better. The other major highlight this last 2-3 months since we last spoke was staking. So you should probably notice that on a couple of asset pages now, you're able to just stake directly from Zerion. That's true for liquidity pools, that's true for vaults, a couple of governance tokens themselves. So you're able to do that without necessarily going onto the protocols page. And we're continuously designing how we make that a little bit more obvious. So for example, that could look like a different section, or that could look like a highlight on the overview page. And then the last thing that I actually wanted to end here, and this is also an opportunity to take in questions, which is piloting Zerion exclusive perks. So many of you would have seen that we did this with the DPI campaign. We've done this in very small ways with some others, but it was definitely a shift in our approach, and one that we really welcome, just the way that it's been received by people, right? From our point of view, of course, there's always going to be just a little bit of hesitation in terms of like, what are the tokens that we highlight? What are the projects that we vet? And we would really love to hear your input here. Abby, if you have any other thoughts or things that you want to add from the community side, feel free to do so now.
Thanks for that, Rebecca. One quick thing I'd add is, as some of you might have noticed, we've been a lot more active, for example, in our roadmap page. Given we've expanded a lot of resources in the last 2 months, now you can be quite confident that any feature request or token request that you add and ask us either via Discord or via roadmap page would be responded to like quite instantly. And we're also sort of upgrading our infrastructure there to ensure that, you know, as part of our coming months, the highest priority really would be to ensure Zerion tracks across your entire portfolio, first on Ethereum, and then potentially on a lot of other chains. And I think, Rebecca, you can go to the next slide. I think that would sort of be transitioning into, you know, what exciting features we have for our Q3 roadmap. I'm happy to talk about a few of these. As you can see, I think the most interesting thing right on top is the support for almost every asset, like we mentioned. And this would include not just ERC20s and liquidity pools like you're seeing right now, but also NFTs. So I think that would be taking this one step further to visualizing everything you have in your Ethereum portfolio now across your web and mobile app. Rebecca, do you want to take sort of the other features we have here?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think actually before we move on to like the L2 support and DeFi onboarding, I really want to get Andre's input. So Andre is our head of product at Zerion, and this is the first time he's joining our call, so we're super excited. Yeah, so like getting into the details of how we're thinking about the design of the overview, what would L2 support even look like from a user perspective? I think that's something that Andre can speak to as well.
Yeah, thanks, Rebecca, for the intro. Yeah, as for Q3 roadmap, basically, yeah, this is the at least 2 big things that we are working on, and for the last, I would say, a few weeks. And yeah, NFT support will be launched pretty soon in July. We will show you like almost all NFTs. The first iteration will be without price, but we are working on this as well. And but at least you will able to see the list of all NFTs that are on your balance. And as for layer 2 support, this is the main priority for entire company. Like we understand that the DeFi became a multi-chain, and all your assets are spread all over, like, I don't know, multiple chains, at least Binance Smart Chain, Polygon, and Ethereum. And soon we will have Optimism, Arbitrum. So the world will be about multi-chain support. So, and it's not about like to show you the balances on overview that we have now. It's like you can consider it as MVP. It's more about having a complete use case, starting from connecting the wallet, on ramp, I don't know, doing any transaction. And we're trying to think about this like in details and how to make your life easier. For example, once you connect to specific. So for example, we will think about, okay, let's consider on-ramp. for example, now you can only buy crypto in Zerion under Ethereum blockchain, but later we will add more support for layer 2. And for example, if you're on Polygon, you will able to see the list of providers that work with Polygon, etc. So as well for trading experience, you will able to have a quotes from, I don't know, 0x or 1inch relevant to specific chain. Yeah, I think that's mostly it about some big features that we have in mind. Evgeny, do you have something to add that I've mentioned?
Yeah, for sure. So there actually one thing I forgot to talk when speaking about Q2, which I think is quite important. So we were pretty busy with hiring, and essentially like all of these new features that are coming up, and like all the infrastructure updates and support for pretty much every asset in the DeFi space. We are doing all of that because we're able to now hire more people. So essentially we've spent quite a bit of time just recently, all like across the team, finding the right people, the right talent. And I think we have succeeded in many ways. A lot of people are joining us in July. One person, Andre, already started working with us, and he's on this call. So he is the one responsible for the integrations, and hence, like echoing what Abi said about making sure that all the requests on the roadmap are responded and like properly looked at. So we are doubling down on resources there. So we're now able to see what you guys are requesting. We'll have more resources to integrate all of these things into Zerion. So hopefully that's going to be more streamlined in the future, and we're aiming to support as many protocols that as exists overall. Yeah, that's one thing I wanted to. Yeah, what's that?
Just wanted to clarify the question about Uniswap v3. Currently, we only support. I just wanted to clarify. We already support displaying Uniswap v3 pools on overview. You were able to see it on mobile or web, doesn't matter. And currently, we are also working on integrating Uniswap v3 as a price source. For example, we are discovering the new assets automatically. So for example, the new pool appeared on Uniswap v2. We display the new assets automatically in Zerion. And it's not working for Uniswap v3 now, but we will fix it. And pretty soon we will also have automatic discovery for Uniswap v3, and as well as trading directly on Uniswap v3. Currently, we support Uniswap v3, but only via aggregators like Zerix. But there are some issues with Zerix, for example, like we should wait when Zerix whitelist specific assets, and only then we will have the trading this asset on Zerion. But once we do that integration, we shouldn't wait for whitelisting some assets. And also one more critical feature I forgot to mention. We are almost done with the native application for macOS and iPad. I know that many people love our mobile applications, but almost nobody has it really like native mobile application in DeFi. And I'm pretty sure that currently nobody has macOS app and iPad OS, and Zerion will be the first probably in the space who has it. So this is also the thing that we're excited about.
Yeah, and I guess that ties in with the last point that we have here, which is just general DeFi onboarding and ease of use. So obviously the range of devices that you can use is one of them, but we're also doing a couple of really concrete things on the product side. So things like being able to create a wallet on Zerion. This is obviously targeted more to new users incoming into the DeFi space who don't necessarily want to be using the mobile app with like a separate MetaMask app as well. This also applies to things like fiat on-ramps. So you may have seen this already, but we do have a ramp integration, and that is supported in about 170 countries. So being able to create a wallet for the first time, fund your account, make your investments, we're slowly closing that loop in terms of the investor journey. And then there's also been a lot of things that have just been requested. So things like price alerts. And I think supplementary to that would just be the kind of content that we put out for people. So whether you're a newbie or you consider yourself a degen, this is also where we wanted to highlight the community grants, because I think this is where like community comes in and figuring it out. What is it that people actually want to see? I think we can all agree that there's a bit of a information signal distortion within this space. It's very difficult to find good information, tutorials, and that sort of thing. And so we're thinking about how we can do that better from our side as well, given that we're a tool and a product that people use apparently up to 15 times a day. So that's it on the Q3 side of things. If you have burning questions, just put them in the chat and we'll get to that really soon. But the last thing that I just wanted to cover is there we go, is the community grants, which you may have seen is something we announced in our Discord. We've had some really, really good responses so far. We put it out in the email newsletter as well. And this one's really simple. There's just so many things that people have approached us with, right? So whether it was translations or someone saying, I can do videos, I can do content tutorials, data analysis, social media management, whatever your thing is that you're really, really interested in doing, if it's something that you want to do with us at Zerion, whether this is you flexing your skills or just contributing because you really, really love this product, we're very open to the idea and we want to compensate you for your work. So if you haven't checked it out, please just go to go.zerion.io/grants. Super short application form, really shouldn't take you more than 5 minutes. And we're going to start reviewing those from next week, and applications will be accepted on a rolling basis. So that's calling you, it's right there and it's ready. So please do that. Please do that. And that's kind of it from our side. I think now is a really good time to open up the conversation for our open Q&A. So I'm actually going to stop sharing my screen. I'm not sure if we have a couple of questions in the chat, but if you have them, feel free either to just raise your hand, put the questions in chat. You can either ask us privately or you can ask everyone if you want. Either works. And also a reminder that if you want, you can put your video on.
Hi, I have a question.
Yeah, please.
Hey.
So, is it in a roadmap to also include Polkadot platform to be able to interface with Polkadot and PolkaSwap and be able to track the wallets?
I can take this one. First of all, yes, over the long-term strategy that we will support pretty much any blockchain that is like relevant. I think the approach we're taking is similar to how we dealt with protocol integrations. So we're not trying to decide for the users essentially what you should be using, like what chains you should have assets on. We want to have, we think that users are smart enough to make their own choices. So with that, we're thinking that we'll support pretty much anything. But I guess like in terms of the timeline, we are starting with EVM chains first, and then Polkadot would kind of come afterwards. I know there are some part chains that are EVM compatible, so these might just come in maybe earlier. But yes, I think like the first, like in the next 3 months, it's unlikely that we're going to have Polkadot, but it's likely that we're going to have other chains.
Got it. Thank you. And also, I had a user feedback just wanted to give. I think it would be a really useful tool to have to be able to track fees, to be able to generate how much fees we've paid. Obviously, fees is a big part of cryptocurrencies today in trading, and it will be really, really useful.
Let me clarify. So do you mean just the gas that you've spent, or like all kinds of fees? So say like you're trading on Uniswap.
Yes.
Just the gas fees. Oh, I see.
Everything.
Everything. I see. Yeah, just like one thing to note is that you can find the fees that you've spent in Ethereum on the Ether asset page. So you would see like fees. I think that's the cumulative amount in Ether, how much you've paid on a particular account, but that does not include fees you pay, say, to like Uniswap or to other protocols. And that's good feedback there. Overall, that's just something that, it really depends on how good your infrastructure is to track all of these things, and we're working to make it, great.
Awesome, thank you.
Doesn't come for free. I guess that's the short answer.
Thanks, Armin. I see another question in the chat regarding the community grants. No, there's currently not a deadline. So we'll be candid and say that we didn't actually want to put a deadline or even disclose what the grant amount is. So when I say we're accepting on a rolling basis, we've internally set aside a big chunk of our marketing budget towards that. And so if we think your idea is great and we think that you're perfectly capable of executing, then we're going to fund your idea. And it's pretty much as simple as that. So I hope that answers your question. Awesome. Yeah, and if you have any other questions about it, like just ask us on Discord. We are also available for like brainstorming with you. So if you like have an idea and you don't want to submit it yet because you want to kind of feel it out, just send us a message and like we'll let you know what we think.
Hi, my question is about a challenge that I continually, I'm a fan of the product, but one challenge that I have continually is trying to protect or have a sense that I'm protecting my own privacy when I'm using it. And what I'm talking about there is, and we've talked about this before, but part of the challenge with when people are trying to protect their privacy is when they're using multiple wallets and they're creating portfolios with Zerion. The idea that all those addresses are being checked at once and sort of bundled together creates that idea that there is some way that potentially they could all be associated with one another. So what I've done to solve for that has been to create multiple different profiles in Chrome, right? And I have some addresses in each one, and so I'll go to Zerion, like in this profile for these addresses and this one for these ones. And I try not to mix like private addresses that I might have, optimized for privacy with addresses that are associated with my identity. And I was just wondering if there's anything on the roadmap or an opportunity for anything on the roadmap that might enhance that in the future. Unless and I know we've talked about it before, and like you guys and Zapper and other products that bundle addresses like that have said, we don't track anything like that, but I still don't understand how, if I'm requesting balances on like 20 addresses at one time, it couldn't possibly be compromised at some point, like if it went that direction. So is that something that's on your guys' mind or on the roadmap at all?
Who wants to take this one? I can. Yeah. Sure. Let me.
But go ahead first.
Yeah, let me answer that first with my thoughts. So first, thanks for the question. That's a really pressing issue. I'm thinking about that myself. I kind of gave up because there's no like real way for now to kind of to stay completely private. So I'm not adding some of the addresses to like the applications that have some of the like very private addresses to the applications that have bundled functionality like that. We've been thinking about different ideas how we can do it in a more transparent way. You're right that the only thing we can do for now is essentially not store this information, because like obviously if like one client is requesting data about like a set of addresses, we could theoretically look into the logs and like by the IP address or even time, and we can like bundle them all together. And there is a potential for a compromise there of privacy, which we're pretty aware of. So we will be thinking closely about that. I don't know, like I don't have the exact time for like how we can and when we're gonna solve this issue, but maybe others, maybe Andre has a better sense, or Rebecca.
Yeah, I just wanted to say something like a bit more details how it works. Like we don't store the exact your list of wallets. I mean, you are requesting the data from the server for each, asset that you have in that list, and we kind of combine this data on the fly. So we don't store it all together in database. And like basically, you kind of requesting the data from for each address, and on the fly on our API, it's being combining. If it makes sense, what I mean.
Yeah, I guess my question is, like, I get that you're not storing the addresses, but a record could be made of the requests as they come in, right? So you could see at 11:29 and 15 seconds a.m. on July 1st, somebody from this IP address requested balances for these 12 ETH addresses. And that, for somebody who's privacy psychotic like myself, and I'm not the only one, obviously there's a lot of us out there, but like, so that's, it's the kind of thing where if it's possible to do, it makes us a little uncomfortable. So that's why I go through the effort of trying to hack together my own privacy solution. And I get that maybe it's not like a huge pressing issue for most people, because most people don't care so much about privacy, but I was just asking because it's important to me. I was just wondering if it was on the roadmap, which it sounds like it's not, but
well,
maybe,
I think
I'll keep the bug in your ear.
Yeah, sorry, Chris, just to make myself clear, I think we just weren't able to find a solution. So this is something that, we were thinking about. We've spent time thinking about it, but we just because we couldn't think of anything that would solve this issue entirely. That's why it's not on the roadmap for the near future. We could just, if you have ideas how to even solve that, because we have a service that is running that is sending the data back to the client. So in that kind of setup, it seems somewhat impossible to not reveal the address itself, and that's kind of like an issue that would always stay there. But it is, we are thinking maybe there are some solutions to that, but I don't just know of any.
Yeah,
I hear you. Thank you. I'll let you know if I think of anything.
Yeah,
that was the only comment that I was going to ask you as well. It's like, we're very open to ideas, and the thing is, it's like there's potentially stuff that we could do just in terms of how we're pulling from the API and making sure that you feel secure. But at the end of the day, like, we are also working in a space where if I know your Ethereum address, I can go plug it into Zerion. Like, as an individual, people use Zerion for whale watching all the time. We see the tweets, like when Vitalik was sending all the dog tokens, or when there's a hack that's going on. And so it's like that, it's a slightly separate but like different side of the same coin, where it's like useful in certain cases. But I think that there's always going to be this like hedge that doesn't really get crossed over just because of the nature of transparency. So it's kind of like a paradox in that way, or at least that's how I think about it. Yeah, I'm curious if anyone else in this call has like thought about this. We'd also love to hear your thoughts. I just wanted to respond to, there was one other question, the $1 million question, when Zerion token. So I don't know if you were at our previous call. This is something that we have addressed like multiple times. We're definitely not closed to the idea of tokenization, but I think we're also very clear about what is on our immediate roadmap right now, and what it actually takes to build a successful tokenized model, whether that's tokenized governance or it's tokenization for some other reason. And I think maybe, Evgeny, this is something that you can speak to as well, because you're probably the one that has received the most questions too.
Yeah, sorry, I didn't hear the question.
Oh yeah, no, this is just when token.
Yeah,
it's when token. That's what it is.
Oh yeah. Well, I think the answer to that is, you won't know until it happens. So that's the short one.
Yeah, that's pretty much it.
I think there's another question about estimating the daily yields from farms. Andrew, do you want to talk a bit about that?
Say it again. Didn't hear you well.
Yeah, there's a question in the chat about estimating daily yield from farms to show on the dashboard. Do you want to talk about this?
Yeah. we don't have exact ETA for that, but like from high level perspective, we will definitely work on yield farming use case in deeply after we finish with layer 2 support. So this is definitely on our roadmap, and I would say not in the nearest months. Like maybe we will get back to the yield farming use case in August. We will see how it goes with layer 2 support, but it's definitely on our roadmap.
I've got a question as well I could ask.
Sure.
I suppose it's more so like a feature request, but and it kind of more pertains to the mobile apps. But I would love two things. One is the option to be able to hide my balances, just so that when I'm trying to show my friends the app, for example, I don't have to show them all my holdings at the same time. The other one would be the opportunity to pick which page I land on when I open the app. So between summary, invest, or favorites, just getting to pick which one the app opens to.
Yeah, I mean, all of these tasks features that you mentioned, we were thinking about them. They are great, and especially the one that you mentioned first about hiding the balance. It's a pretty highly requested feature. Yeah, I think we should prioritize it. It's pretty useful.
I guess
It would be nice for sharing.
Yeah.
It would be nice to be able to share the app a lot more with people without having that barrier.
Yeah, and basically, what do you want to like show to your friend, for example, when you show in Zerion? If you hide the balance, that's great. And then I'm just wondering what kind of use case you would like to show to your friend.
I would just basically like to show them the app, open it in front of them. And before they have to download it, just open it in front of them.
Oh, I see.
And say like, this is the page. This is where you can see gas prices, for example. Because one of the main use cases I've found for my friends who are mostly noobish in the space is they just like checking gas prices. So they just open Zerion all the time and check. So yeah. Maybe even a graph for gas prices might actually also be really cool. It might just attract people to come in and see more. But that's just off the top of my head.
Interesting. By the way, we have a widget for iOS. You can add it to your home screen or like widget screen. It's also pretty useful and like easy access to check the gas prices.
Yeah, I was just going to add this. Honestly, this is a problem that I run into a lot as well as someone that works at Zerion. The very rudimentary way that I've gotten around it is just adding a bunch of watched wallets first. Not a solution. And yeah, I mean, I hear you. I think it is actually, it's one of those problems where it's like more around how people share or like talk about the product, but it's definitely not the first time that it's coming up. So it's definitely worth looking into. And then this idea of like having a customizable homepage. So maybe I want the homepage not to be the summary, but to be the invest page. I know that I would find that personally very useful.
I think that is also leading to another feature that I remember we were ideating on, also very relevant to what Chris mentioned. This is around more of like, how do you bring in a social bridge here to the wallet discovery funnel? So thinking about, if you want to show your wallet to your friend, but instead sort of eToro style, there could be a accumulated list of top traders, and you could basically have a feed with watch list trades. I think these are things that also we have in our funnel for ideation sort of down the road, but not immediately. And I think this would also really help sort of close that entire funnel. So you'd be able to farm, you'd be able to, participate in the multi-chain environment, but also understand nuances through Zerion, which you wouldn't be able to do elsewhere. So that's another thing that we have as well in the roadmap. And I think given, we don't have any questions right away, I'd also like to do a short announcement thanking everyone to coming to this call, and also mentioning that we have a proof of attendance bot, a POAP bot that we've set up for this call, and the code for redeeming your POAP is 0 to Zerion. So that's 0 to Zerion without any spaces in between. I think Nahuel has just shared a little announcement in our community channel in our Discord. And all you need to do is sort of call the POAP bot and mention 0 to Zerion. I think this is something that we're piloting, and we'll be having more of these in the coming community calls. And this would also go along with sort of Zerion exclusive perks where this could be a gamified feature down the road. So do redeem it, and you know, you never know what it could be worth down the road as one of the first Zerion pull-up bots.
I was about to say there's no WEN token yet, but we do have the pull-ups. So baby steps.
Can I make another feature request while we're
Please go
in
ahead.
feature request mode?
Please.
So what I've always wanted to do is be able to click on a token from my asset list and then see which wallets hold that token in my portfolio, instead of just what we have now is you just see the total equity and their total amount. But I'm always wishing I could see it by wallet somehow, because I'm always having to go back and like sort of just click on each wallet and look for which wallet holds that token.
Yeah, that's a great feature request. We've heard it pretty often, I would say. Like to see, I mean, you are talking about the portfolio, like, right? The aggregated view that is built on your multiple wallets, right? And when you, under portfolio view, you click on specific asset, you would like to see, for example, how many ETH you have on specific wallet, and like, for example, ETH asset page, and you would like to see ETH distribution for each wallet, right?
Yeah. I mean, it'd be great if I could just click on each one, and because like I don't know if I'm weird or not. Like my portfolios sometimes have like 20, 30 addresses. Like, so I'm like, I'm trying to go back and figure out which one had Gitcoin token, which one had this or that.
Yeah, that makes sense. Totally. Yeah, I've made a note about this.
I have a
thanks a lot.
Question. This is thinking out loud here. I'm wondering, because I don't know what the technical integration of that would look like. Would that not kind of assume then you do have to have some association? This is a question to Evgeny or Andre or Alex, who's on the call. Because it sounds like there what you are saying is like, I have these 30 wallets and I want to be able to detect which wallet holds which asset, but that requires me to know the 30 wallets that are currently connected. So I'm asking out loud. Do you understand what I'm asking here, Andre?
Yeah, I can completely.
I could be wrong. I just
here.
really don't know.
No. You're right, but I think there's a difference if we do that on the backend side or on the front end side. So we could do that on the client side, which would effectively mean that there is no way for the backend to know, even though like the client can still be malicious. So essentially, like anything you see on the screen could be somehow associated if the app is malicious. But I think the path forward for us is like maybe down the road to open source the front end client and then have the backend client just not know about it. I think that's the potential way to solve this issue. Yeah.
Thanks for clarifying. Any other questions? We have about 3 minutes left. So this was a 45-minute meeting. Or just chat, feature requests.
I'm sorry, how did you say we redeemed that 0 to Zerion?
So right now, if you just go to our Discord's community, Zerion community chat, there is a recent tag for the POAP bot. So all you need to do is private message that POAP bot with the 0 to Zerion message, and you'd immediately get a link to claim it.
I have a question. What is Zerion going to look like in 5 years from now? Haha, tough one.
That's the big one.
What do you tell your investors?
Well, we tell that it's going to look like. First of all, no one knows, right? Like I think that's obvious. My thinking is that it starts, I think the vision starts with decentralized Robinhood. I think that's kind of like the smallest thing we could accomplish, given that DeFi, the pace at which DeFi is moving, we're going to have all kinds of assets within DeFi mimicked from the traditional finance and more. So from that perspective, that's kind of like the first step we're aiming for. And then later on, I guess the big difference would be just like the internet became bigger than the TV. So like finance and DeFi would be much bigger than finance in like ways we could not even anticipate. So we see and look at Zerion as like the kind of like the companion / navigator type of app. So effectively, you could be browsing using whatever, say, software, or like say Google Chrome, Safari, whatever exists in 5 years. But Zerion would be the backbone of your transaction making. So ensuring safe execution of trades, easy access to opportunities, and like making sense just overall of your DeFi journey. So that's how I would answer this question. But yeah, thanks. That's a really
the decentralized Robinhood thing is good.
Yeah, and I know that many
timely
people
right now as well.
Yeah, many people say that, but I don't think they mean exactly the same. So like I think I was able to outline, hopefully, what do we mean exactly by what we mean by when say decentralized Robinhood.
Yeah, I think there's still confusion with people, like what's the difference between Zapper and Zerion and any other tracker. But like when you say, when you put it like that, it starts to make it clear what your vision is. I'd love to see more from you guys, like as far as like what the long-term vision is and what the real differences are, between different products. There's probably going to be more. Like I'm just, some big players are going to jump into this space soon, so it'd be cool to know more about what you guys are thinking for the long term.
Yeah, we're actually working internally because we're growing bigger as a team. We're working on standardizing some of the things and like coming in sync essentially on a lot of the matters and product principles, and just stop the knowledge that we have accumulated over years. So I'm hopeful that in some near future we'll be publishing something, maybe like just from my account, just as a summary what we believe in, and hopefully we'll work on the manifesto as well. At least that's the current plan, just to put it out there what we believe in and like what are the things that how we see the future essentially, and where we see Zerion fit.
I think I would also just add there, like, given that it's a space that's so uncertain and no one really knows where anything will be in 5 years, there is also this sense of like, we're aware that the product features that we put out and the language that we use is the product features and language that many people experience for the first time when they're into DeFi, right? So you're really setting the tone of what DeFi looks like for so many people, which is really exciting. There's also a lot of responsibility. So I echo what you're saying, Chris, like internally and externally from people like you and other community members, people do kind of want to see a lot more of this kind of forward thinking of like, here's what we think the next 3, 6, 12 months are going to look like. And so, yeah, that's something that we're definitely thinking about a lot more. So I think on that note, we have come to the end of our call. Happy to stay and chat if any of you guys have any other burning questions, but please feel free to head out, to go about your day. And yeah, thanks so much for coming. We're really excited to do this again.